I am being a little bit geeky today. I'm wearing a tie. Luc Picard wears this capsule knot in the interview scene where he's meeting with the FNA. I saw it, I thought, right, well, it goes with the theme that we've been following. We've been making a waistcoat. So look at the front of the envelope, identify the letter next to the garment that you're making. So B is the tie. You flip the envelope over. Okay, so let's open the pattern. It's 1745. It tells you at the top there. Then it gives you sketches of everything that you can make. So you've got version A of the waistcoat. You've got version B, which is the tie. So that's the front and the back. Then you've got the child's version of both A and B. Then on the pattern, it gives you all the different instructions that you need. So all we have to do is lay our fabric out like that after I've cut the tie pieces out. So how do I know which pieces I need for the tie? Well, come down here, looking for B for the men. So it's not 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 are tie B, and 6 and 7 are the interfacing for tie B. So if I open this paper out, I can cut out carefully what I need to cut out. So I'll cut it out roughly, all the pieces together. So I've got 4, 5, 6 and 7. That's really good. So I'll cut all these out. Okay, so here's my 1 yard of fabric. The pattern cutting layout said lay the fabric so it's facing up. Lay that on there like that. And I measure those arrows from the selvage. Okay. Line again and make sure that sits nice and steady. Right, for this bit I'm getting a big piece of the wax paper with the wax facing up, you see, and I'm going to lay the tie on top. So I'm going to mark the notches first, like that. And what I'm going to do is just mark those dots. Actually goes through the tissue. Mark it through the tissue there. Can you see? The cutting mat helps with things like this. If you do it on a table, you can leave imprints in the table. Check that's marked up. It has. This isn't a woven interfacing. So I'm going to just lay the pieces on like that without worrying about the grain. Right, there are my 4 pieces. So we transfer the fold lines to the right side of the tie sections with the hand basting as shown. That off. That's done. 2, stitch the centre seam of tie sections matching the small and large dots. Trim the seam and press the seam open. Okay, so what that's asking us to do is put the right sides together like this. Like that. And match those dots up. So basically what you're ending up is with a right the tie going at right angles to itself, like that. Just match those dots up. So that dot there needs to match up there, and that dot there needs to match up there. You can see my dots are not dots anymore, so maybe that pen wasn't the greatest idea, but that's okay. If it happens to you, what you can do is just work out, because it's 3/8 of an inch, as long as, or 1 centimetre, as long as the bit that's poking out is no more than 1 centimetre there, or like that, and then that part poking up no more than 1 centimetre. That looks pretty good. So here we go. I've got the 3/8 set up on the machine, and it's virtually at the foot when the needle's in the middle. So when you cross over this fabric, you should see a perfect V, and the 3/8 sits where that V meets, and it will be the same at the other end. So where that V meets is where the 3/8 seam allowance is set. So place the fabric right there at the cross and start sewing there. Lock those stitches. I've used a 60 needle. And what you should get when you open that up is a perfect line. So if I put the seam under that way, what happens is you get a continuation of that edge, continue on with that. You get your hand basting carries on. It looks a little bit off mark there, but then it's carried on there. So where it's missed there, that's me stretching the fabric, but I've got 1, 2, 3 points which are aligned perfectly, telling me I've sewn that in the right place, and I've probably sewn either that one or that one in the wrong place. So 3 out of 4 isn't too bad. Trim the seam and press the seam open. Right, we'll do that now. So we've taken away a bulk of that seam. Like that. I tend to go about halfway down, do you? It doesn't tell you how much to trim. Right, so we've trimmed the seam, pressed the seam open. Apply fusible interfacing to the wrong side of the tie, lapping the ends at the centre. So that centre area there, we're going to lap the fusible interfacing, so the iron-on interfacing over there. And we're going to centre them between the fold lines. So see where we did our hand basting? We need to make sure the interfacing sits between there. That's the wrong piece for that side. And make sure we put the glue side down like that, and it will should sit nice and neatly between that. I've got, that's the good side, so I want to make sure I do it on the wrong side. And so I'm going to start ironing it down and working on the fabric as I work my way up. So I don't want to put the interfacing on the basting, do I? Because I've got to pull that out. Okay, start a little bit further back, like there. And I'll work on a little bit at a time. There we go. Make sure it sits in between the basting. And then suddenly it's overlapping. side's done. Let's do the other side. I'm going to work that way just because I'm right-handed. I find it easier. That's done. Turn the ends of the tie outside along the fold lines and stitch as shown. So what we're going to do is, this is the dark fabric is the right side. So find the fold, there it is. That yellow line that I drew on before with the tracing wheel. And it's going to match up, and it does. Matches up. Goes a little bit over actually. There. And there's the fold line. There we are. Do the same on the other side. Lock those stitches. Okay, let's just press that. I'm going to press the seam into the V, and I'm going to take that fold. Remember where we folded it before on that line? Just take that away, and then I'm going to roll the fabric down so the seam is just on the edge like that. This is where we use the clapper, so get a bit of steam on there, build that steam up, and then put the clapper on, and then do the same on the other side. So we're folding on the fold lines, stitch leaving an opening between the notches to turn. Now along here we have some notches. Got a notch there and a notch there. So I'm going to pull the notch over there and there. So I've got one there and a notch there. I'm going to match those up. Like that. Match that up there. So hopefully now the fabric should sit perfectly between those two ends, and there we go. Just coming up to the turning hole, and I'll lock the stitches there. Remove that pin and restart the stitching just there. Lock the stitches right at the end. There we go. Tie is made. So let's pull that out. I'm going to pull all the pins out. Very large safety pin. And pierce it through the seam allowance like that. And I'm going to push it into the tie like this. And feed it all the way through like that. And if you pull on the seam allowance, it works so much easier. To pull on the seam allowance and you do this. There we go. And just roll that seam. Feel for the seam allowance and hide that into one side.